Robert Rodriguez took us on a wild, gadget-loaded roller coaster that had every 90s kid wondering if their parents were actually secret agents. When Rodriguez introduced the concept of two teens on a mission to rescue their secret agent parents, the action-comedy film instantly became a family favorite. Spy Kids was the franchise before we even knew what that meant. But over the years, things kinda spiraled. What started as a family favorite took a seriously weird turn with the newer reboots. So let's dive in and figure out WTF actually happened to the Spy Kids universe. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Origins, the breakthrough family spy adventure. Before it became a box office hit, Spy Kids was considered a very risky bet for Hollywood. When Robert Rodriguez pitched his idea of a Latino family of spies, studio executives were skeptical as to how the film would be received and perform at the box office. But Rodriguez was determined to take on a different route than making yet another kiddie movie. He instead wanted to add just a tiny bit of spice to the whole genre and create a film that would be the perfect blend of spy thriller action and childhood wonder, revolving around a multilingual household. The film came as a breath of fresh air, something so new and unexpected for the audience that, before they knew it, Spy Kids had become a cultural phenomenon. The 2001 film introduced the audience to Carmen, played by Alexa Penavega, and Junie Cortez, played by Daryl Sabara. Siblings who need to learn espionage, navigate between their homework, high-tech missions, and trying to save their parents, who are undercover agents, from the clutches of Fagin Floop, a flamboyant children's TV show host, and outsmarting his army of Fooglies. Along the way, the film takes a very wholesome turn as the siblings learn to trust each other, overcome their insecurities, and realize that their greatest strength lies in their bond as a family. From sibling rivalry to fierce loyalty, the siblings even manage to turn Floop into a friend. With stars like Antonio Banderas and Carla Gugino playing the roles of Carmen and Junie's parents, and Danny Trejo playing the role of their gadget-obsessed uncle, Rodriguez's stylized direction gave the film a signature flair. What is now seen as a very normal depiction was then quite revolutionary in terms of the way Latino identity was represented without really giving into the typical stereotypes. The maniacal gadget usage and the action-packed sequences simply added the cherry on top to the movie. Beyond representation, the film tapped into universal themes that resonated with both children and parents alike, thus resonating with the masses. The film also flipped the boring narrative of the kids being rescued, instead empowering them to take charge, problem solve, and believe in themselves. In Rodriguez's words, he wished to create movies that his own kids would want to watch and would influence them to become the heroes of their own life stories. The film grossed nearly $150 million globally on a modest $35 million budget, with critics praising the movie and it becoming an instant favorite among audiences. The blockbuster hit laid the foundation for a full-blown franchise, which included 3 sequels, some spin-offs, and eventually a reboot.
Jerry and Gertie.
Building a franchise, sequels, and expanding the universe. After the massive success storm that followed the release of the first Spy Kids movie in 2001, Robert Rodriguez wasted no time in building a full-fledged franchise. Spy Kids 2, The Island of Lost Dreams from 2002, the second installment in the franchise, became a box office hit again, as the audience was swept up in the journey of outlandish gadgets, exotic locations, and mythical creatures with the Cortez brother-sister duo. The characters underwent quite a solid character development, with the introduction of rival spy kids, a little bit of coming-of-age teenage crushes, and the evolving sibling dynamics. But it was Spy Kids 3D Game Over from 2003 that marked a bold technical leap. The film introduced the audience to a virtual reality gaming world and used anaglyphic 3D technology. It also had a cool promo gimmick. You know, those classic red and blue 3D glasses came right in the DVD packs, which just made it even more of a must-have family movie. The technology that made polarized 3D projection possible also paved the way for other similar projects, such as The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Although critics felt a lot was happening in terms of the movie, with visual and story overload, the film did quite well at the box office. The fourth installment of the Spy Kids franchise now had the previous formula told and retold. Now, the film followed a new spy family with the legendary Jessica Alba as the stepmom and secret agent, and Carmen and Junie only appearing in supporting roles. While the film tried to introduce a new generation to the franchise, its overall reception amongst the audience was lukewarm. Critics cited a lack of the original's charm and emotional depth, not enough character development, and the overuse of 4D gimmick. After this, the franchise then branched into television, with the animated Netflix series Spy Kids Mission Critical in 2018. The show, reimagined to cater to a much younger audience, offered a more comedic, episodic type of storytelling style in the world of the Cortez siblings. The animated Netflix series Spy Kids Mission Critical ran for 2 seasons, and while it didn't exactly capture the magic of the originals or stand out next to all the other better kids shows out there, it still managed to keep the Spy Kids name alive for a new generation. Then, in 2023, Spy Kids Armageddon dropped on Netflix. This was the 5th movie in the series, and it kind of tried to do both things. It aimed to reboot the franchise while also loosely continuing from where the last film left off. This time around, we got a brand new spy family with completely fresh faces and no appearances from the original cast. The story follows 2 kids who accidentally help a rogue game developer release a global tech-controlling virus. And when their secret agent parents get captured, the kids have to step up and become spies themselves. Armageddon leaned into the whole modern tech vibe and was fun and light in parts, but it still lacked that original Spy Kids charm. Even a short cameo from Carmen or Junie could have added the personal touch and nostalgia that fans were hoping for. That said, Netflix has shown interest in continuing the franchise, and Rodriguez has hinted that another movie might be on the way. So maybe the Spy Kids universe is getting ready for a proper comeback.
And then it juggles.
Themes, identity, and innovation. At its heart, Spy Kids doesn't fit in the usual flashy action comedy film series. According to Robert Rodriguez, he was influenced by the James Bond style of espionage, with the whimsical aspect inspired by Willy Wonka, which ultimately gave the film its unique style that sets it apart from the rest in the genre. The franchise flipped traditional roles, with children empowered with responsibility and intelligence, while adults often needed rescuing. A recurring theme across all films is family unity, which lends it a wholesome, comforting feel. Be it the sibling duo that goes through a great deal of challenges and overcomes missions to rescue their parents, or the challenges that come with blended families, at the end of it all, it comes down to one word only: family. In whichever form and style they come. The films continually explored dynamics relatable to kids, instrumental in making the kids feel heard and understood, all while embedding messages about communication and loyalty. Accepting multiculturalism and normalizing it to a great extent is also something that was not very common in Hollywood at the time, but it definitely paved the way for many more to follow. Like we mentioned earlier, the Spy Kids franchise has always been big on pushing the tech envelope. The first movie was shot using high-definition digital video, and then Spy Kids 3D Game Over gave us that classic red and white 3D glasses experience. Watching the series kind of feels like seeing the evolution of filmmaking through Rodriguez's eyes. But as the franchise went on, a lot of those cool themes started to fade. The later movies leaned more into flashy tech tricks and visual style instead of strong stories or emotional connection. It all started feeling a bit flat. Hiatus, decline, and fandom legacy. The cultural phenomenon of the franchise that had taken over the world with the Spy Kid fever coursing through the veins of kids and adults alike hit a creative lull after the release of Spy Kids All the Time in the World in 2011. Although attempts were made to capitalize on the successes of the previous movie, the Jessica Alba movie lacked the originality and charm required. Over-reliance on 4D gimmicks such as scratch and sniff cards and minimal screen time for beloved characters like Carmen and Junie left longtime fans disappointed. The movie, the weakest entry in the franchise, became the subject of considerable criticism, with the film being criticized for being too shallow in terms of storytelling and character development. Ultimately, because of the unexpectedly cold reception, the franchise went on a hiatus that lasted nearly 12 years. During the decade-long break, although an animated series, Spy Kids Mission Critical from 2018, was released, it largely flew under the radar, failing to capture the interest of the younger audience it was intended for. Fans feared that this might mark the decline of the franchise, the final nail in the coffin that would seal its fate for good. Despite the long break, the Spy Kids franchise still managed to stay relevant and didn't vanish from pop culture. The original films, particularly the first two, continue to be celebrated by millennials who grew up with them and have gone on to be cherished, nostalgic reminders of the childhood they once represented. Rodriguez's bold stylistic choices, quirky villains, and chaotic yet charming way with which he built the fantasy world were often recognized as ahead of their time, even if they weren't always critically lauded. The legacy that the film franchise stood as a testament to was cemented in 2022, when the original Spy Kids film was selected for preservation in the U.S. National Film Registry by the Library of Congress. This recognition honored its cultural and aesthetic significance, especially as a milestone in Latino representation on Hollywood's big screens and kid-led storytelling in American cinema. Despite the overall decline, be it in terms of creative burnout or the connection with the audience, the love that Spy Kid fandom shares has more to do with the movie series, which once meant so much to a generation that grew up believing kids are just as capable of saving the world if need be. Reboot era: Spy Kids, Armageddon, and the Next Generation. After going underground for more than a decade, Robert Rodriguez returned to reboot the world of Spy Kids with Spy Kids Armageddon from 2023 on the OTT platform of Netflix. The film was extra special since it had his son, racer Max Rodriguez, as co-writer for the movie. The reboot just had one agenda: to reintroduce the newer generation to the fantasy world of high-tech spy gadgets, quirky villains, and the power of family bonds, but with a new-age digital take. While Armageddon is technically a standalone reboot, it retains the spirit of the originals, whether in terms of the slapstick technology or the idea of mini-heroes who use their wit to save the day. The movie, which features a completely new cast, has Zachary Levi and Gina Rodriguez playing the roles of the spy parents, has a decent enough casting choice, albeit incomparable to the iconic pairing of Banderas and Gugino. Then come the kids. Everly Carganilla playing the role of the sister Patty, and Connor Esterson playing the role of Tony. The sibling duo does a decent job at capturing the sibling vibe of the initial installments of the movie. Snarky, chaotic, yet inseparable. The film, in order to appeal to the current generation of kids and young adults, centers around a plot line where a powerful gaming code, the Armageddon code, is stolen by an eccentric tech mogul, the King Kingston, played by Billy Magnuson, after which the children must navigate a world of virtual realities, conduct high-stakes espionage, and fend off emotionally stunted adult villains to recover it. Although, as Rodriguez updates the initial themes of the franchise, with a threat now coming from addictive video games and data breaches, the core value is something that still remains. If we talk about the stylistic aspect of the reboot, the film retains the same colorful, cartoonish overall aesthetic. The action sequences are fast-paced, the gadgets over the top and whimsical, and the film oozes with wholesomeness and familial warmth. Although lacking a lot of fantasy absurdity, which made the initial installments iconic, like Fooglies, the film has more to do with realistic issues and threats that are the real villains in the current digital age. The film, however, has a noticeable oversight in terms of absurdity, with the tech villain defeated by kindness rather than combat. All in all, critically, Armageddon received lukewarm to mildly positive reviews. With it nowhere close to recreating the magic that weaved through the viewers while watching the initial movies, the film did manage to appeal to the younger generation. And it may not be at the Frozen level yet, but it sure had the younger audiences appreciate its energy and relatability. Director Rodriguez has also expressed his keen interest in continuing to build this franchise for future generations, with probable plans to expand the reboot into a full series, potentially including sequels depending on the audience's response. So yeah, Armageddon does pay homage to the Spy Kids universe, which millennials and older Gen Zs grew up watching and loving, all while crafting a spy world that speaks to kids today. If the original films gave us nostalgia, Armageddon reminds us that the world still needs stories where kids are indeed capable of being in charge. What's next? Longevity, spin-offs, and cultural impact. With Spy Kids Armageddon, released in 2023, already setting the stage for a possible reboot era, and Robert Rodriguez expressing interest in sequels, depending on viewership numbers, the franchise shows no signs of fading away into oblivion. Although Netflix hasn't yet released an official statement in terms of a follow-up of the movie series, likely the Tango Torres family may yet return for another mission, with more deeper OSS lore, and hopefully a return of the legacy characters, even just for a cameo, or even with a probable multi-generational crossover with the original Cortez siblings. Beyond the core films, the Spy Kids universe has always thrived across various media. Video games like Spy Kids Mega Mission Zone brought interactive versions of Carmen and Junie's adventures into homes, further anchoring the series in pop culture. The film also paved the way for other similar projects that were heavily influenced from the franchise, like Shark Boy and Lava Girl and its Netflix sequel, We Can Be Heroes. The outlandish concept of kids in charge and in a savior role still continues to resonate with the audiences and is a thing that childhood nostalgia was made out of. Culturally, the movie franchise is forever monumental and goes down in Hollywood's Hall of Fame for the normalization of Latino representation that had long-lasting effects, inspiring a generation of viewers who rarely saw themselves playing the role of heroes. In fact, we can go as far as to say it remains one of the few major kids' franchises where family and cultural identity aren't side plots, and instead they carry the film. So although the film did go off the rails for some time, safe to say it'll definitely get back on the horse, and the Spy Kids universe will continue evolving. So be it a sequel, spin-off series, or VR-enhanced game, one thing's clear. The Spy Kids universe isn't done saving the world just yet. With a new generation of fans embracing the reboot and nostalgic millennials passing the torch, the film will continue to set many milestones in the years to come. Marvelous verdict. So what actually went wrong with the Spy Kids universe? Honestly, maybe a little bit of everything. It started off as this genre-bending film that broke ground both technically and thematically. But over time, it just couldn't keep up with the bar the first few movies had set. With more complex and polished family action films flooding the market, changing audience tastes, and tighter budgets, the franchise hit a bit of a rough patch. But just like any good spy on a secret mission, the Spy Kids franchise wasn't gone. It's just waiting to make a comeback. And now, with Rodriguez back in the driver's seat and new tech, themes, and talent in the mix, the Spy Kids universe is primed for expansion. So, do you think Armageddon and future installments can bring the franchise back to its former glory? Drop your thoughts, theories, or even your dream spy gadgets in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the ride, Don't forget to check out the rest of our channel where we dive into the movies, shows, games, and characters that defined your childhood. Until next time, stay spy-tacular. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.